Hello, I'm Deborah, and today I wanted to share a aspect of spirituality and personal growth that I think a lot of people don't consciously connect, but it's very connected, and that is how spirituality connects to your health, your physical health, and specifically your weight, my weight in particular. I And this came up because it's always been connected. Everything's connected, but recently I found myself really craving very, very calorie dense foods, very, very calorie rich foods, even when I wasn't really hungry. So I knew it wasn't about hunger, and I, you know, became aware of it. And a lot of times it would happen when I'm tired, when I'm stressed, or just really focused on getting so much done that I just don't take time for myself. And I would get this kind of exhaustion that would lead me to want to just eat whatever I wanted. And I kind of felt like I deserved it. Like, I'm doing so much. Let me just have whatever, And so I became aware of it, and I was like, okay, I set an intention to consciously, for me, one of the things that works is like kind of set up guidelines. So I set up guidelines around, okay, when I get home, I'll do this, then I can eat, or I can only have these kind of snacks and all these types of things. And so I did that, and it worked to some extent, but not completely. And again, the cravings weren't based in hunger. So I knew there was something more to it. So what I did, after some reflection, I decided that I needed to do some parts work. And if you're not familiar with it, parts work is amazing for personal growth and spirituality, which really go together. They are one in the same to me. You can have personal growth without the spiritual side, but if you're doing it right, if you're really taking a holistic approach to your life, then you're focused. For me, my focus is spiritual growth, and my personal development happens as a result of that. Because when I work on my spirituality, my connection to the sacred, to the divine, everything else in my life comes along for the ride. So parts work is a therapeutic approach developed by a family therapist named Richard Schwartz. And he developed a system called internal family systems. And the concept, and I'll just say it really briefly and probably won't do it justice. I have read the training manuals on it, but the concept is that we are comprised of different parts of our personality, parts that you can think of as a family. And that these parts of us are created in response to different events and experiences in our lives that we experience as often traumas, but they don't always have to be big traumas. The big traumas definitely can produce some parts, but sometimes even small things that we might think are small can produce different parts. And there could be an infinite number of parts that we each have, but these parts are created through experiences as a part of us that's meant to help us cope. So if you're a people pleaser, which I have definitely been, that part of you is to help you cope in some way with your environment, your circumstances. And so there's also a really great book for non-therapists that he wrote called No Bad Parts, because that's actually one of the concepts, is that there are no bad parts, that we can embrace the different parts of ourselves, come to learn from them because they exist for a reason, come to understand them, and in the process, unburden them, help them heal, and integrate them into the wholeness of who we are. The concept is, which I really vibe with, like our true self, our core self is compassionate, curious, calm, not stressed out, not judgmental, not fearful, those things. All of those things in internal family systems and parts work, all of those things come from different parts of us that are reacting. So as I became aware that I was having these cravings that I really weren't based in biology, weren't based in any reason to eat, I decided I was going to do some parts work around it. And for me, all it takes is, because I do it often, and I highly recommend it. If you're not, I highly recommend it because it's extremely insightful, and the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And it's something you can kind of whip out your pocket at any time to deal with different things that come up. Because we all have parts of us that come up that we would love to escape from. Parts that make us anxious, worried. We have thoughts we don't want to have. And what do you do with that? Parts work is a really effective way to work with that and to really love yourself instead of shunning, judging, or pushing away parts of yourself. So for me, what I did was I just set an intention that I was going to do parts work, got into a quiet space, and closed my eyes. And what I do, there's different approaches. He gets very detailed in his therapeutic approach in the training manual. But what I do is I simply talk to the part. I asked, could I please talk to the part of me that wants to overeat? And so I talk to that part. And the idea is that that part of me has something it wants to share with me. That's why it's coming up. That part of me has wisdom to share. And if I listen, I can help unburden that part so that it can release that and it will no longer need to overwhelm me, right? So, and sometimes when I talk to the parts, I will ask their name. You can actually get into great detail, but I don't always do that. For me, it was enough to just, let me talk to this part that wants to overeat. And so I asked myself, I'd like to talk to the part of me that wants to overeat. And that part comes forward. I mean, I'm almost never had a part not come forward. And it's almost intuitive. It could sound crazy if you're not accustomed to it. But so this part comes forward, and I asked, what do you want me to know about why you're craving food? And what that part told me was that she really wanted, she wanted to soothe herself with food because she needed more pleasure. That food was a quick fix to wanting pleasure. And since I've been working so hard and so focused and so tenacious, that part of me, when she had the opportunity, would come out and be like, okay, well, if you're going to work that hard on everything else and you're not going to take breaks and you're not going to do all the other things that you need to do to take care of my whole self, then that part of me was just like, okay, I'm going to eat. I'm going to give myself pleasure through food. So I talked to that part and really came to understand that what I need in my life is more pleasure. And the pleasure is not necessarily, pleasure can mean a lot of things. It's not always about something big. It can mean more walks in the forest. It can mean more recreational time, more intentional leisure time. I love to craft. It could mean more crafting. And that was one of the messages that came through from this part, was that creativity is pleasure. And I'd really been missing out on creativity. And so I needed to give myself more opportunity to be creative and more outlets to be creative and to nurture that. And that was extremely insightful. I thank the part for showing up, for sharing her wisdom with me. And then I asked her, like, what would you like to do? Like, how do you want to feel? And so she would tell me that she wants to feel secure, happy, calm, blissful. And then I asked that part, what would make you feel like that? And she tells me. And in this case, she told me she wanted to go to a flower-filled meadow next to a stream. And see, this is all happening in the imaginary world, so anything goes, right? And so I gave her permission to go there if she wants. And if she wants to come up again, that she can come up and talk to me. She can come up and experience life with me, but I asked her to please not overwhelm me. And so the part of the idea here is that I'm not pushing these parts of myself away and hiding them under the rug, because they truly become skeletons in the closet and show up in all different types of ways if we don't give them space, if I don't give space to that part of me and listen to her. And your parts can be any gender, any age. You can really go deep with it. But this was a woman. And so since I did that, since I learned that from that part, I made an effort to actually intentionally increase the pleasure opportunities in my life. More time for creativity, more time in the woods, which really makes me super happy. And it's been working. It's like suddenly I'm not feeling these cravings anymore, because that part of me feels taken care of. It doesn't need to resort to wanting to just eat, unhealthy things, or just to meet my needs and give me some sense of pleasure, because I'm getting the pleasure in other ways. And, parts work is spiritual work, because in many times when we do parts work, we're actually working with some of our shadow parts, the parts of ourselves that we would rather ignore or shove under the rug or push into the closet. And the reality is, to show up as our best selves in this life and in this world, we have to accept all the parts of ourselves. It doesn't mean you have to let them all display or act them all out or manifest all of them. But it's important to acknowledge that we have shadow sides, that we have parts of ourselves that maybe we wish were different. But there's space, and we can create the space to be able to appreciate those parts of ourselves and learn from them. And then those parts just magically relax and chill out, so that your core, beautiful, true self can be who you're meant to be. And so I've been enjoying that. It's been probably about, 2 weeks since I did that particular parts work. But I do different types of parts work all the time. But I since I did that, it's been about 2 weeks, and I noticed a huge difference. I was really surprised, because after a couple of days, I was like, oh, I'm not doing what I was doing before. I'm not craving what I was craving. And it's because I listened to that part. And it sounds like magic, because it is. I highly recommend it. And that's what I wanted to share with you all, that spirituality is connected to every single part of your life. And that's, that is part of my purpose. I've always said, is to bring the sacred, help people to bring the sacred into every day, and to understand how your spirituality, your spiritual life, your spiritual connectedness pervades everything, including your health, including your mental state, all of those things. And that by actually doing the spiritual work, of working with your shadow in whatever way that you do that. In my case, this time it happened to be parts work. You can help heal yourself, relieve those parts of burdens, therefore elevate your energy, and just have the opportunity to experience more of the greatness that is intended for you. So that's what I want to share today. Your spirituality is connected to your weight, to your health, to every aspect of your life. And I want you to know that you can enjoy and invite the sacred into every aspect of your life. And that's it. That's all I want to share today. I hope that this message helps someone, because you don't have to feel ashamed. You don't have to feel alone. There's a path, there's a process, there's many processes, many approaches, many modalities, but you don't have to be stuck, alone, anxious, self-loathing, whatever you might be going through. You don't have to be stuck there. Just know that there is help and guidance. So that's my share for today. Wishing you so much joy, peace, happiness, and all the love that you can manage, and more. And until next time, take care.